Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Chats with Chaudhry. I hope you're safe and well. Today, I'm continuing my series of interviews with senior people at Informa Markets to get a breakdown of what you can expect at this year's CPHI Frankfurt or Europe, which is running October the 28th to 30th. And I'm delighted to be joined by James Reidy, who is the program director for CPHI Europe and Americas. And today, we're going to learn more about the content program at this year's event. So, James, first of all, it's lovely to meet you. How are you?
Feeling pretty well. How are you, Riz? All good?
I'm very, very well, actually, James. Now, I understand you're calling in not from Amsterdam, but from Rotterdam.
Correct. That is correct.
Good. Well, I hope the sun's shining where you are. It's sunny outside here in London. Now, the first question I'm going to ask you, though, is for people not familiar with your role and what you do,
Yeah,
what is a program director and what is it that you actually do for
yeah,
CPHI Europe and
no
Americas?
problem. So my official title is Content Partnerships Manager. So
Right,
I've been with CPHI for the last 3.5 years, but in the events industry for the last 7.5 years, always in pharmaceuticals
right, okay.
conferences. My role essentially is basically the research of the content of the industry, putting together a program that is both thought leading, but also very insightful as well and actionable. From there, I would also connect with some of the key stakeholders in the industry, such as large pharma, associations, the biggest kind of CDMOs, and ensure that we have a nice, comprehensive agenda created for our events. And
Right,
then the
okay.
most important thing is, yeah, being sure everything runs smoothly on site.
Yeah, which is the stressful bit running from talk to talk, I guess. Right. Let's start by looking at what's been some of the most exciting things in terms of shifts that you've seen in the pharma industry recently, and how does CPHI help to showcase those shifts in the
Yes,
industry?
yes. So for me, there's probably two things that come to mind, and it's based around kind of the theme of the year. I think one is quite obvious, which is AI. As you know, AI has been around for a long time in pharmaceuticals, but mainly in areas of drug discovery and R&D. What we're seeing now is a shift towards more on Gen AI, AI in contract manufacturing, drug manufacturing. And this year, CPHI, we're actually having some fantastic kind of use cases around that from the leading CDMOs, but also just across our event portfolio itself. Beyond that, and this is mainly more of a common theme, is around globalization. With CPHI being a very fast event with over 60,000 expected to be in Frankfurt from around the world, the conversation of the global supply chain has been kind of in the media from, of course, the tariffs in the US, geopolitical constraints. There's been a conversation about how is the term globalization, is it dying? Is it death by globalization, or is it go more localized or like a hybrid model? And we have a fantastic leadership summit that kicks off the event that will actually be covering that topic in great depth. And then beyond that, we'll have excellent insights from different perspectives from across the industry highlighting that. So if I put those two together, I think that's kind of the key conversation that you'd expect at CPHI.
Fantastic. Now, I've already interviewed Stella. People who don't know, you check out Stella's interview when it comes out. She looks after all the research. Now, she was telling me about she does a lot of research, but you actually sit down and start talking to her about the content. So, how do you decide on the themes or innovations that make the program each year?
Yes, it's quite multi-layered. So so we do speak with Stella and her team because they collect fantastic insight on at each event on the day. And what we do is we would review it and see what are kind of common denominators that come out of that. What we tend to do then is once we've finished our event and we kind of have time to review and reflect, we then start connecting with our advisory board or past speakers, attendees, or exhibitors. Essentially, we try and get as much of the industry's perspective to get an idea or sense of what is expected for the following year. Beyond that, it's also keeping your finger on the pulse. So for us, even though we do our research a year out, it doesn't mean things will change. That has certainly has happened. We saw it already this year. Again, from the administration in the US, we was continuously moving, so we had to adapt to that, which also brings a bit of excitement and freshness to it all. But also, it's just having this sense of breadth of the industry. So CPHI covers all things of the value chain. So for us, it's just having as much information, having as much research across every part of the sector, from sourcing of the drug material all the way to commercialization. And I think that just allows us to kind of have a strong, comprehensive program and just filled with interesting insights and content.
Right. Now, one question I do want to ask you, I've been thinking about this actually while we're talking as well, is that CPHI obviously started out as an exhibition. It's all
Yeah.
about buyers meeting customers or possible customers, engaging. Your content, obviously, the event has grown and the content has grown exponentially. And now you're as much about the content as you're about the exhibition. So, as someone who puts the program content together, maybe I should ask Adam actually this question. But is there a conflict between the exhibition and trying to ensure that people still have that historical buyer customer interaction while still putting on the content program, which obviously is to drive people into the event anyway? I understand that. But how do you get the balance right between having the right amount of content while still allowing people to not go, wow, the content's so fantastic, I've got to be in a seminar or a room or every minute of the day and not on the show floor engaging with the exhibitors?
No, I think that's a very good question, and it's something that we've also been considering. Have been thinking about over the last couple of years. The big thing we do is with our content is that it's on the show floor. So this year, for example, we'll have 7 conference tracks across the venue, and each one is positioned in a designated area. So, for example, our manufacturing led content is in our CDMO hall, or
Yep.
biologics content is in our kind of bioproduction space. What that allows us then is allows everything on the show floor. We also made sure our spaces are multi-purposed, so both for your conference conversations, but also space to network. So we have a mix of exhibitor-led sessions along with some thought leadership. But the idea is that the conversations carry on after the conclusion of that session. That just allows that kind of traditional the B2B experience, but then also a chance then to meet companies that maybe traditionally haven't attended CPHI beforehand, and they get a sense of it. So just bringing that balance together, and I think having it in the same place, same location, allows that to happen.
Yeah, well, that's a very valid point actually, because I go to many other events where they've made the mistake of having the conference element, if you like, not necessarily off-site, but not on the show floor, but in rooms on different levels, whatever. And then you always have that dead period, often at these events where everyone's at the talks and they come out for lunch or coffee, and that's the only time it's busy. So that's a very good point. Um, the other thing I was going to ask you is that obviously since the pandemic, I mean, during the pandemic, everyone went virtual, and
Yeah.
then you've had certain events showing, still keeping the virtual element and having the live element. From your perspective, what's your view in terms of balance between virtual versus in person? I mean, I have my own personal view. Love to get your view on that. What CPHI's view is on that?
Yes. So when, of course, the pandemic happened and we all went virtual, I think there was that sense of excitement, kind of sense of the show must go on. But since we've gone back to more a normal routine, we have seen the value of face-to-face interaction. Even for myself, who was more for virtual 5 years ago, I do see better value on site. With that in mind, there is an emphasis for virtual experience as well. Either be it from just maybe from pre-show material, record over content to have online afterwards, because as you know, we all get very busy. Having bite sizes of content or information is now more vital than ever. I think it's, people don't want to listen to maybe 30 minutes as much anymore. We don't have 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But at the event itself, you can kind of explore that a bit further. So I think for me, I'm more on the side of course, in person, but the virtual offers brings again another layer, more exposure to, let's say, a wider audience who, for any reason, could not attend CPH or any in-person event for any reason.
Yeah. Well, I also think it's made companies like yourselves more, I hate to use the word 365, but that is the term, I suppose,
Yeah.
where you can collect content, curate content on site and before, but make it available throughout the year. And that's actually, I think, quite a powerful tool now. And a lot of event companies have now shifted from just purely being exhibition companies to real content providers throughout the year, haven't they? Now, what advice would you give someone who's a first-time exhibitor or startup trying to stand out at CPHI? Because you've got, I mean, I was looking at the exhibitor list yesterday doing an Excel sheet, which was driving me nuts, but there was nearly 3,000 exhibitors you've got at CPHI across, I can't remember how many halls, but I think it's about 9 halls you've got. So there's a lot of halls, a lot of exhibitors, a lot of noise, which is great for people like me because we want to help people, but there is a lot of noise. What advice would you give to those first time exhibitors or startups, which you do have? I know you've got a startup zone at the show. How are they going to stand out at CPHI, or how can you help them stand out?
Yes. So I think, yeah, you're right. CPHI is a beast of an event. When I went to my first one in Barcelona 2 years ago, yeah, it was really an eye opener. What from myself, what I did was first I just took a deep breath and said, "All right, okay, you're in here now. You must continue." Uh, I think it's just, making the most of what offers we have. So, for example, we have the CPHI event app, which each year has grown and matured. It has a very fantastic interactive function. So, from nearly a live map to even actually acting nearly like as a Google Maps in terms of directions as well. It's very more interactive than it used to be. It also gives you a sense of where to go, plan meetings, look at the live agenda, but also I think it just keeps you connected because we can all get lost. You can spend most of your day in one hall and try to go to another one, and it can mislead you. I think also as well as plan as much in advance. I think if you can, if you're a first timer, it may not come to you right away, and if that's the case, I think just take it all in. If you're there for the first time, most likely be there for the second time, so you learn what went well, what didn't. And I think what we'd all suggest as well as lastly, of course, is wear comfortable shoes. You will do a lot of walking for sure. And I know for our startups, which will be, I think this year we're gonna have 115 startups, which are only based in our Hall 4.0, which is right in the center of things. For them, for sure, is really understanding what CPHI means, not just for them, but for everybody else there. And I think, what we said to them is it's always just, again, plan ahead, make the most of it, but don't feel like overwhelmed that you have to get everything achieved. As I said, the idea is that you come back the following year and kind of continue those conversations.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. I mean, I have to say, I always wish I know you won't, but CPHI is 5 days would be my preference, but that's another story. I've got another question. Though. As you have put the program, and it's always a difficult question when I ask this to people who put the program together, but what are your highlights or standouts that you think people are a must see? I know you could say everything is a must see, but from your perspective,
Yeah.
what are some of the must see things or must content that people should get engaged with at CPHI this year?
So I mentioned already, but we're also doing our leadership summit, which kind of kicks off the event. And essentially, what this is a kind of like an exclusive kind of event itself. So within CPHI, we have a fantastic keynote led by a Dr. Patrick Dixon, which he kind of looks at the kind of foreshadowing of the pharma industry. And then we're followed by an exciting panel then of executive leaders who essentially will look at the year that has happened, but also the next 12 months ahead. And these are the most thought leading, kind of forward thinking people you can see. I think this kind of sets the scene. Beyond that, then, as I mentioned, we have 6 content theatres, dedicated theatres focused on key areas. So, for example, we have one on manufacturing, which looks at contract manufacturing AI. With Next Gen Bio, which looks at R&D and biomanufacturing. We've also a dedicated space for sustainability, which is always growing each year. We've also launched a new space for clinical research called clinical innovation. We look at clinical research, development, clinical trials. And then we have future pharma ingredients, which covers all things drug development and supply chain. And then we kind of concluded up with a lovely for the packaging and drug delivery. But also, we also launched a spotlight stage, which have a fantastic initiative called Content Connect. This is actually a space or a platform to actually come together, everybody come together and speak about a particular topic of interest. The team this year is sustainability, but the idea is that they set the kind of discussions and we kind of make sure there's space for that. So I think for us is I don't have a particular topic in mind. I think just go and witness what's there. So there's so much on offer. And I think you walk away feeling like you've learned something new. I think that's always the achievement with our program is we want to make sure people walk away with some new insights.
Fantastic. Now, I've got one final question for you. Everyone's been listening to this, but there'll be some people, foolish people I know, who have not registered yet. So, for those people who are still not convinced, why should they register for CPHI Frankfurt?
So CPHI Frankfurt is just a very unique event, and not because of his numbers. I think it's just who attends it. It's so international. You get people that are coming from, let's say, from the tips of California all the way to far east of Japan, and in between that. And I think it's an opportunity to meet people, like-minded people that you may not have a chance to meet at other events, because again, they might not attend other events from across the US or in Asia. So people used to tell me it's like going to 7 conferences in one. You're just going to meet so many people. There's so many layers to it. And I think if you want to have a chance to just learn something new of the industry or have a chance to meet maybe somebody might be able to find a solution to a problem you're having. I think that's an opportunity as well, because that's always seems to be the case. The more people you meet, you communicate, is the more chance you get closer to the goal you want to achieve. So for anybody that has any second thoughts, I would certainly attend CPHI. I said it's just an excellent place to meet like-minded people, and as I said, over 60,000 people under one roof. It sounds mad as it is, but it's also, when you see it, it's actually just it's insane, but also in a very fun way.
It genuinely is insane, but it is great fun. And actually, literally, you'll meet people on the way to the airport, on the way from the airport to the hotel, in the hotel, everywhere you'll meet people going to CPHI. So it truly is a fantastic. Well, James, it's lovely to meet you, my friend. Happy build up, and I hope everything's fantastic on site as well, of course. So viewers, if you'd like to learn more about CPHI and you haven't registered, click on the link above this video. If you've got any questions for James about the content program, feel free to put them in the comments below. I'm sure James will be happy to answer them. And James, hopefully I'll see you at CPHI on one of the floors at some point, because I'm sure you'll be running around like a maniac from A to B. But hopefully I'll get to see you there in person as well. So viewers, hopefully I'll see you at CPHI or another event in the not too distant future. Until next time, as always, stay well and stay safe. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.